Cloud. And this recording brought to you by Leslie Hebert, because she reminded me this morning, this day on February 7, 2019, because I'm a klutz. I love my friends. Hey, this morning, Misfits, we're going to be talking about a topic that is not a very common thing, but the thing that scared the hell out of me, literally, it scared the bejeebies out of me, is when, you know, sometimes I'm kind of a geek, right? Sometimes when I look at things, can you all see that? Where'd you all disappear to? There you are, way back here. No, that's not even you. Somebody give me a verbal, you can all see that. Oh, there you are, way back there. Okay.
Yes, I can see it.
This slide, is this picture, I like seeing how much the word gets used. That tells me about society versus my own little myopic thinking. Can you see the word depression? Okay, so let's go back to the 1800s. Right now, in the next week, we're gonna all have to go back to the 1800s. With everything we know and all of the knowledge we have, we're gonna have to live in the 1800s. How many of you would just like start to become depressed? Electricity, phone call, no cell phone, nobody's got a cell phone. Could you imagine society if we didn't have a cell phone or internet? So that made me go, okay, there's some, I know we hear about it. I know I hear about it. I hear people, everybody's depressed, and because everybody can, you know, WebMD themselves. And listen, here's my disclaimer. I am by no way a doctor prescribing or treating any kind of disease or anything like that. This is a conversation that I thought it would be important for me to have. Depression, dejected feeling of severe, S-E-V-E-R, severe despondency. See, it was underlined. Severe despondency or dejection. I had to look those up too. I thought I knew what they were. Also a feeling of inadequacy, guilt, often accompanied by a lack of energy, disruptance of appetite or sleep, the action of pressing something down. How many of us, okay, so I'm going to go back to what Joe Dispenza says when he starts his conversations. How many of us, by show of hands, believe our thoughts can influence our day? How many of us believe that maybe, possibly, there's a slight chance that there could be some conversation that says a lot of people are becoming depressed? And do you think there's a Me Too society out there? I'm not saying it's not real, please hear me, but how many times do people go, well, if they're all depressed, I must be depressed too? And we could possibly talk ourselves into some of these things. Now, yesterday was about self-care, and there was 2.69 billion results on self-care. That's a freaking lot. 786 million on depression. And you know what the #1 ranking site is? How many people, if you were in business, how many of you would like really love to be #1 in Google? How many companies do you know spend a boatload of money to get to #1 in Google? I don't think the National Institute of Mental Health has spent any money to get to #1 on Google. Let's talk, we all understand, we all have a concept of what depression is. Here's the question. Here's what it says in all of the research, in the 40 minutes of research I did, but in all of the research that people have spent lots of time and lots of money on, these are the general things you should do, that you could do to deal with, to handle, to offset depression. Try to be active and exercise. How many of us, I mean, let's see, I'm just looking at the list. I think all of us on this call right now, the 6, 7, 8 of us, are all in this powerful profession of MLM. I would really love if we started calling it Me Loving More. I mean, that's why I gave it that name. But it says set realistic goals. How many times do we sit down with people and go, well, let's set realistic goals? Or, see, I love what this industry can do to people. I despise I love what it can do for them. I despise sometimes what it does to them. When we tell them, go get a car, you got to get on the car program, right? You got to get yourself in debt. You got to go get to the highest rank. You got to go, and we put so much pressure on people sometimes. So then we have Try to spend time with other people and confide in a trusted friend. How many of us have a trusted friend? Seriously, right? And we need those things. Kids today, I say kids today, when I was in 9th grade, Mason's age, I had a trusted friend. It started out as a fight. Funny how those things happen. And then we became the best of friends. Try not to isolate yourself or let others help you. Expect your mood to improve gradually, not immediately. And postpone important decisions such as getting married or divorced or changing jobs until you feel better. Well, hell, if that was the case, nobody would do anything. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying this is how they suggest the things. I think MLM is the greatest cure for depression. Right? I think the society that it creates, the cohesiveness, the ability to have like-minded individuals, not to mention some pretty freaking hot products that companies have. This was interesting. So I Google top 10 reasons for depression. And I saw this disparaging dates in articles from 2012 to 2018. In 2012, it was abuse, mentally, physically, sexually, certain medications, conflict, death or loss, genetics. See where genetics is? Look where it is in 2018. Genetics is the top one. I wonder who, if it's genetics, what do we have to take to try to fix genetics? Some kind of drug, right? I'm not going to go down that road, but I kind of just went down that road, didn't I? Who's controlling all brain chemistry imbalance? 2012, I think we had the technology to understand. Now, has technology advanced? Oh my gosh, in 6 years, ridiculous. But stress, the sixth one is stress. I think that'd be number one right now. So I'm just saying, we have to. I was talking with the group down in Latin America, and they have a tendency, Latinos have a tendency to be very hot-blooded. And they were giving me all of these things that were absolutely just huge challenges and very, very one-sided. And I said, great, trust but verify. Give me the rest of the fact. Give me the other side of the story. And it just freaks them out when I go, what's the other side of the story? They go, what are you talking about? I go, I believe all of that to be true. Tell me why somebody would believe the complete opposite. It just, I know they'll be telling stories. We had this mentor, this gringo, and he used to just piss us off. When we would come to him with a challenge, he'd go, well, tell me why somebody would believe the complete opposite. And we'd have to come up with the answers. So I say that to say, if you're in a particular state, what would be the opposite of that? What would be the difference of that? Look for support from people who make you feel safe and cared for. Make face-to-face, good Lord, you can tell. Face-to-face. It says face-to-face a priority. That's important. You know, how many of us have been to an event? How many of us have ever watched a similar event online, live stream? Which one do you think gets more into our soul? Right? I mean, this is awesome, but could you imagine if we had a coffee clutch every morning? And it said, this is what it said in the paperwork. This is what it said online. But it doesn't, but they don't replace. Any spell checkers out there for grammar checkers? Good old-fashioned face-to-face. Doesn't replace the good old-fashioned face-to-face in-person quality time. Boy, I know we can spend, I've probably spent the last couple of weeks right here in this chair. Right here. Not, I mean, literally Taking Mason to school is the only time I get out. But I still have heartfelt conversations. I had conversations with 3 continents yesterday. So, and social activities. Here's the cool thing, care for a pet. How many times do we count on our pet, or do we look to our pet to just help us change our state? Not to change our state, but we go find them. Come over here, I need to hug you. How many of us, if we see a puppy or a baby, does our voice change? Oh, look at the little baby. Do you know what that is? Do you know why that happens? They still can't understand us, especially puppies. It's because of their state of vibration. We are creatures of connection. And their vibration is at a certain high frequency, and we instantly, even the grumpiest old man will put a smile on his face for his granddaughter. We change our state based upon who we're interacting with. So this is what they say, you're the reflection of you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. Who do you need to start hanging around with? What are the 10 things that depress you that you could begin to avoid? The news. You know, people ask me all the time, well, do you watch the news? I go, not unless I'm in it. Not unless they're doing an article on me or they got some expose. But are there some people that you're like, you're going to go around, oh, we got to go over to, I'm trying to think of somebody's name that's not on here. We got to go over to the Virginia's party. Oh my God. We got to go listen to her ramble or listen to him ramble. What are 10 things that you just know bring you down that you know you can avoid? Maybe we've habitualized ourselves, we've habitized ourselves to sit with those things. And then here's the challenges. What would happen? I'm going to fix that today. What would happen if you decided to not be around those things, not be around those environments? What would the fear of losing depression do to you? What would the fear of not being sad? Maybe that thing can't go away, but much like the scales of justice, if that sadness, if that despondency, if that dejection, law of polarity says there's an opposite to it. And what could you do to increase your joy? Could you write more? Could you read more? There's a toolbox after this that it talks about. Was it in this one? Okay, so what's your discipline? What things, how many of us used to do fun things? This one, whenever I mentor people, the first thing I ask them, I go, what's your favorite song? And they'll tell me their song. I go, when's the last time you listened to it? They'd go, oh. This is about 90% of the people. They go, geez, I haven't listened to that. And I don't know, I heard it on the radio the other day. I go, and it's your favorite song? You get me? How many of us, if you're, the other morning I was playing Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, and their head started bobbing. You can't get into music without it moving your soul. If it's stuff that moves your soul. Monitor and measure your experience. What do you do with that? Journal. This was pretty cool. I found this wellness tool. Oh, I didn't find it. It popped up on when it talked about some solutions. And then the principle of Kaizen. I'm going to give you the wellness toolbox here after this slide. But the principles of Kaizen, 1/10 of 1%. Remember, what did it say? Don't expect your mood to change immediately. Expect it to change gradually over time. Principle of Kaizen. Don't expect a mighty oak tree to plant the seed today. Everything has its own gestation, right? Babies we know are 9 months. Elephants are 18 months. Everything has its path. The key is that this, because it's mindset, it's a lot to do with mind and environment. We do have the ability to rapidly advance it much more than the seed of a mighty oak tree. So here's the wellness toolbox. Spend time in nature. How many of us just love sitting by the seashore or sitting on a bench? Yep. When's the last time we did? Margie, you did it the other day. Thanks for the pictures. See, even when she sent me the pictures from the beach, that was powerful. She sent me, and because I lived in Florida for 20 years, I know we had a condo on the beach. Second story, used to sit there with the feet up on the handrail and watch the ocean and the egrets and the seagulls chase the little crabs, sand crabs. List what you like about yourself. Have we talked about that? I love me. List what you like about yourself. Read a good book, watch a funny movie or TV show. In Daily Awakening, I'd love for you to go put some of the funniest movies or TV shows you like. I love The Three Stooges. I love Young Frankenstein. Igor, help me with the bags. You get the blonde, I'll get the one in the turban. Ah! Right? Just these little things that just make me giggle. Take a long hot bath. Take care of a few small tasks, right? These little things. Who knows Franklin Planner? Who remembers Franklin Planners? Right now they're Covey. But Franklin Planners, one of the biggest things they had was the little square box. And a lot of my anal retentive friends, when they do their little tasks, will put little square boxes by the tasks. And I asked her one day, and this is when I was, they'll put little square boxes like that. And I said, what are you doing that for? She goes, because every time I do it, I like to give myself a check mark. How many of us would love to give ourselves more check marks? Then figure out a way to give yourself a check mark. I'd give yourself a check mark for being on here. Play with a pet, talk to a friend or family, and it says face to face. Listen to music, do something spontaneous, get a daily dose of sunlight. How many of us know that sunlight's important in our life, right? Helps with the melatonin, serotonin, all of those tonins. Get it and challenge negative thinking. I think we're doing a couple of those things on this list right now. So there you go. Not an easy topic to talk about, not a topic most people want to talk about, but it's a topic I think that needs to be discussed only for the fact that when you put the light on it, right? Remember we talked about shadow was one of the days, and whether we're in the dark or we're in the light, you can't see depression when you're neck deep in it. When you take a step out, at least put a little light on yourself, a light on the topic of having feelings of depression, of being now clinically depressed. That's a whole nother story. That's total chemical cocktail. But even just feeling sad is still a chemical cocktail. So feelings, thoughts, conversations on this topic.
I was just going to say, Sean, when you said when you're in it, you don't recognize it. And that has certainly come to light for me over these past 3 months. Part of what I've been going through for the last few years, and I didn't see it as depression, was depression. I felt trapped by a job that I didn't want to be in anymore, and felt helpless to change anything about it. But I'm not helpless, but I felt helpless, which added to that depression. And at the time, I didn't think it was depression, but I stopped listening to music. I wasn't doing anything fun. As a matter of fact, in the last few months, I've made a conscious decision to get out into more social situations rather than always avoiding them. Like over the last few years, the times I've not gone to something I was invited to because I didn't want to be a part of it, because I didn't feel any joy about going. And now I seek to find those things to do. And I used to go out and walk in nature because I always found that very uplifting. I hadn't done that for a while, so I'm starting to redo all those things, because these last few months of our morning sessions has helped bring me out of depression, and I've started to recognize like I say, the old Emily, who knows she has the power to do the things she wants to do and to change her life the way she wants to change it. And I've been adding back elements of the things that brought me joy before. And so the depression has gone by the wayside, but it took a bit of work.
So, and again, so here's the thing, as you have conversations with people, if listen, folks, listen, I love doing that. Listen.
I love that too.
I just can't get it. Listen, you can't we're at grandma's house. You can't trust what she says. If we're going through this, what are the chances the next prospect we're talking to is going through this, and they've shielded themselves, they've ironed themselves, they've steeled themselves to not have to deal with this? What would happen if we said something in a conversation? You know, it's pretty funny. Over the last couple of months, I've had an awakening. For years, I used to do things in my life that I loved and enjoyed, and I stopped doing them. I don't know how or why I stopped doing them, but it really changed my state of life and my state of joy. And over the last couple of months, I've taken some time for myself on a regular basis, and it's starting to really change my life. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that. How many people do you think would go, "What are you doing?" Who else has something that shows up in there? There's a kitty cat. Who else? What shows up? What do you feel when you hear about this? Again, not a light topic. This isn't, this isn't normal dinner topic or after party topic. Man, what a great show. Who's depressed? Not typically gonna have that conversation.
Well, Sean, it's amazing too when we've been talking about this, when you put light on this, and it's how many people are struggling with this. And it's so amazing to think that, when we get in our own little crappy, I mean, like, well, you know what I mean? Like, we get all in that state and then we think we're the only ones going through it, and we're not. There's thousands of people going through that. And I believe that when we do go through things, the key word is through, because you don't want to stay parked there. But it's always for someone else. Like when we go through things, that experience is always to help someone else out of that experience. You know what I mean? When they're going through those things. I believe because there's like, you're the teacher that has arrived for us, or facilitator, or whatever you want to call yourself, but I think you're amazing, honest to God. And you've helped me tremendously, honestly. And I know that, and it just chokes me up to even thinking about that, because it's just so amazing. It's so life-changing. And to be able to deposit that into other people's lives, to help them unlock what's going on in them, like, oh my gosh, what a gift. It's just, I'm just so grateful for that.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, here's the thing, just like anything in our life, what if we take a leap of faith, because that's kind of what this was in the beginning. I knew I was going to do it as like more charities, more help, more GoFunds, more people get helped when people get pissed off. Right? Tony Robbins said one of the greatest lines when he was starting his business, one of the greatest lines he would ever use to get people in an ad, remember when people used to run ads, was, "Are you mad?" That 30 years ago would get more people to events than blah, 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 blah. Are you mad? Because you got to, Gary Halpert said, if you have a restaurant with the greatest food and the greatest atmosphere and everything else, I will always beat you, because I will find a starving crowd. And we together are feeding a crowd of people, a universe of people who are starving who may not have the courage to take the steps you all have taken. And in that step, you now become a what? A leader, a teacher, a confidant. People are starting to notice in you, because I've done this for so long, people are starting to notice physical changes in y'all. Whether it be posture, whether it be this. So this idea of people are going, I don't know if anybody has said to you yet, have you lost weight? Have you gotten your hair cut? What have you done? There's an energy and they can't express it, so they got to try to find something physical, because they don't know about the ethereal to be able to have that conversation with you. So I can't tell you, it's like how proud I am of what we are doing here to help each other. And if it never gets any bigger, okay. But I think there's quite a few more people that probably would benefit from this, but haven't, because maybe they've been doing that for a month. It's like, I'm so far behind. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Cool. What else is showing up for people when we think about this? How have you, in some sad states, right? I told you the story about when in 2004, when the hurricanes came through, 3 hurricanes, like within 4 weeks, came through Florida, destroyed our house. We were homeless for 3 years. Mason was going to have to get ear tubes put in because he was having earaches all the time, because Michelle and I were in such often just depressed land, if you will. Our dream house that was going to be where we retired to for all of that stuff, just everything totally gone. Had I not had the training I had up to that moment, things could have been a lot different. A lot different. But I had friends, I had family, I had my bride. We were in it together. There wasn't this, it was your fault, you caused the hurricanes. So what we did is we would have parties all the time. And not to have a party, but it was to have friends over, because we weren't in our house. We became a destination spot because we were so kind of far out of the way from where we were before. So we would have parties, barbecues, birthdays, whatever it was, we would want to host them. Didn't know we were doing that for ourselves very self-fully, but that's something we did. When you feel uncomfortable, what are some things you do? Listen to music, whatever.
Sean, there's another way of looking at this too, and that is to go from the segue from deprivation or depriving ourselves to some of the things you do when you are depressing. People take terms like depression like it's a thing that you could haul around in a wheelbarrow or that drops out of you out of the clouds. But it's a nominalization, which means it's a label for a process. And there's a number of things that some people have identified that go on in the process of depressing that we could deprive ourselves of. For example, chunking up in problem situations where we consider a challenge and we think about it in terms of, oh, it's permanent. It'll never go away. It's pervasive. I'll never get away from this feeling, from this experience I'm having. And that comes from the explanatory styles that Martin Seligman identified. Another thing to deprive ourselves is associating into pain and dissociating from pleasure. In other words, for the happy person, pleasant memories are framed in a very real and very significant way. Depressed people do it the other way around. They have their unpleasant experiences coded as real, and the pleasant ones seem almost like false memories because the person isn't inside their own body as they recall them. So the idea is to deprive ourselves from pain and associate into pleasant experiences. Another key thing to deprive ourselves of is temporarily orienting ourselves towards the past. The depressed person thinks of present and future in terms of the past. Like, I know why I'm unhappy. It's because I never got over my mother's death. Or my future is ruined because I'll always suffer from the confusion that I felt during sexual abuse. So if we orient toward the future, think about what the future could hold, might hold, will hold, and deprive ourselves from being stuck in the past. Another key thing is to get out of negative self-talk, deprive ourselves of hearing all the bad things that we're telling ourselves that are not meaningful, really don't predict the future, are just that drunk monkey talking to us all the time. Another thing is that depressed people do as part of the depression process is to shut down physically. You find that if you get up and move around, take action, do something physical, it breaks you out of depression. And one of the last things is to, instead of considering yourself to be not at cause for your depression, assume that you are 100% responsible for your situation and think about what you can do to get out of it. So when you put all those 6 things together as a strategy for how to be depressed, the suggestion is don't do those. You offered a good list of things to do. If we're aware of the things that these features that depressed people do to be depressing themselves, and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to chunk up my problem to something bigger than it really is. I'm not going to associate in the pain. I'm going to go for something pleasurable. I'm not going to think about the past. I'm going to focus on the future. I'm going to stop listening to all the negative self-talk that I do to myself. I talk about myself. If I get up and move instead of just sitting around being depressed, and then finally considering that, yeah, I'm depressing myself, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take responsibility for myself and challenge those pieces of the strategy that I could use easily to keep myself depressing.
Here's the thing about depression, though, is that when you're in the quagmire of depression, you know all those things intellectually, but you're totally incapable of bringing yourself out of that. That's when the biggest thing in depression is to find the courage to reach out for the help, because you know you can't do it on your own. And that, me, these early morning misfit sessions have really been instrumental in helping push me to where I wanted to go, but depression did not allow me to go. It's very
So your drunk monkey is telling you,
all the time.
I can't change. I don't want to change because that'll be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's uncomfortable. I don't know that I thought it was uncomfortable. It wasn't familiar, and I didn't know how to get there. I could see it. I could see where I wanted to be. I could feel where I wanted to be, but I could not get there.
I think too that it's the how to, you know what I mean? Like there's so many, like even with myself, I was always looking in the past, like when there was, because I was sexually abused as a child and all that, who, like anymore, like who hasn't been? Unfortunately, that's just crazy. But it's like I keep reverting back and thinking on, I used to, I don't anymore, thinking on those things that it was keeping me stuck there. And that drunk monkey, which is, I think that's really cool. That drunk monkey kept telling me things and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? No way, man. So I understand what you're saying, Bob, because I did start taking responsibility for myself. I got to do something different here to change. I didn't know what to do. And when I cried out for help, it just seemed like the universe, God, opened up and said, hey, here you go. And there's been so many tools that have come to me in these last few months. It's just been so exciting and very riveting, because it's like that I feel is so far from me now that it's not even, it's not even who I am. You know what I mean? Like that, the past, I know I'm not defined by my past. I've been prepared by that. but it's like, it doesn't have anything to do with me anymore. Like, it's so, it just feels like now it's so far detached. And I'm so thankful for that because of what we're doing here. And because of, yes, exercising every day, like getting on doing those rituals that Kathy was talking about the other day. And I wrote them down and I've been sticking to them, not because I have to, it's because I get to. Such a different thing in my thinking, a different shift, you know? So that's been really life-changing for me.
Yeah.
So imagine this. I'm going to be the one that actually had the chemical imbalance. Imagine that. So for me, depression started in my late teens, and I was actually with a psychiatrist and psychologist probably my early 20s. And one of the interests, and by the way, I was still a horse trainer at that time. So I was riding 8 to 10 horses a day. There was plenty of sun and there was plenty of physical activity. It did not take me out of it. So there, you know, there's the other side to the coin. But what I found when I finally was getting help was how much I mourned by not knowing about chemical imbalances. And it wasn't something that I could fix at the time. It was within me and it needed to be gradually changed over time. I mourned the years that I lost. That was a huge, huge thing for me, to be able to realize that I wasn't making it up, that it was something that was, you know, physically going on in my body that was holding me to that state. But as I've grown out of that and past that, and way, way, way past the need for the medication, the latest thing that I'm going to say that has been a major shift is that I'm okay with being alone. That would used to have depressed me like beyond belief, that nobody wanted to hang out with me. Nobody wanted, you know, it was just mind stuff that I was playing. But now it's been interesting in the last 2 to 3 months. I really don't talk to people much besides here in this group. Nobody really reaches out. Well, Sean does, and Larry does. A few other people, you know, reach out and call me and talk to me. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't have meaningful relationships at the moment. But what I understand is where I'm at in my growth stage, I need to be by myself, because the people that used to be in my circle of influence were doing me harm. So I'm learning to settle in and be okay with being on my own. And you have no idea how huge that is. I like being by myself. I like just hanging out with me, because me's pretty damn great right now. That's a huge breakthrough. So I don't know if that helps any of you, but if you start to find yourself in that circumstance, there's a reason for it. Embrace it. Did I lose you?
No, we're all here.
Did my internet go away?
Okay, well, we hear you.
Okay, cool.
So as we listen to all of this, and again, some of my friends who are like as nuts as us call me a dream pharmacist. We're all dream pharmacists, because anything that ever has to be said has to happen up here. Mm-hmm. We have to activate the hypothalamus, we have to activate the amygdala, we have to activate the prefrontal cortex, or all of that stuff gets shut down, right? And the hypothalamus is kind of like, how many of us have ever heard the term your wingman, right? Mm-hmm. Guys were going out or girls were going out, right? You be my wingman. You'll get the B guy. That being said, the hypothalamus is the one who's always talking to the amygdala. The amygdala is the fight or flight. It's the size of an almond, and it's the one that turns us on for everything. It's the one that's constantly sitting there going, when the cat jumps up on the table and we hear, you know, and we hear that noise, we want to look, but we can instantly, the brain is constantly nexting all of the information that's happening in the room. And when the cat jumps up and we hear papers, what could make papers do that? I've got a cat. Okay, it's probably the cat. And trust and verify, we look and it's a cat and it's no. But the amygdala was like, the house is going to blow up. Oh, no, it's just a cat. Okay, no, everything's okay. So the amygdala is kind of like your hyper crazy friend. We've all had one of them. And it's constantly saying, it's looking for the saber-toothed tiger in everything. Anytime you talk about what Bob was talking about self-talk. And when we go into that, right, we split self-talk into positive and negative. And when you go down the negative path, they always talk about the saber-toothed tiger. I don't know why, but that's the common. Our brain is designed to protect us against the saber-toothed tiger, right? That one twig snap in the woods, is it going to eat us? Well, there is no more saber-toothed tiger, and most of us aren't in the woods walking around hunting for our food, listening to twigs snap or leaves rustle. But we're still, that amygdala has not shut off. It is the fire alarm. It is the security system. It's ADT. It's everybody, and it is constantly the slightest thing. And the hypothalamus is the one sitting with its arm around the amygdala, going, no, it's okay, and all day long it keeps going, it's okay. No, that you should pay attention. No, don't worry about it. The hypothalamus is wore the hell out. We are in this constant state. So this morning we had this huge storm roll through town. Lightning and flashes, and the room lighting up with lightning and thunder, and so Beamish, just absolutely, if he could have crawled into my neck, that would have been better for him. But I could barely breathe, and he's shaking. Now he's in my arms on the bed, Mason next to me, because Michelle's gone. So boys, right, it's easier for me to wake him up downstairs here. So everybody's in the house right there, and he is shaking like a leaf. But here's the difference between Beamish and us. 15 minutes after the storm passed, guess what he was doing again? Sleeping, just relaxing, chilled out. How many of us still talk about an issue that happened 5 years ago? See, the difference is that we can relive a moment time and time and time again. And what happens is it's 70,000 thoughts a day. We're going to have 70,000 thoughts a day unless, or Jim Rohn's favorite word, until we choose not to have 70,000 thoughts a day. And in that conversation, so this is why this group for an hour gives us something to talk about, forces us into a dialogue, right? A conversation that is not normal for us. It's becoming normal for us, but because there's a new concept, a new word, a new something that comes every day from, the head misfit, that it forces us to go, ooh, what's he gonna say today, right? So all that being said, it all happens up here. It's why journaling is so critical. I bet if Em looks back at her journals, she'll see, you can see in your writing how your energy changes. Mm-hmm. That's why journaling, it's a documentation of our life. So it's not an easy topic, for sure. But I think it's one that we have to address, and we have to recognize some people, right? You never know the pain somebody else is going through till you walk in their shoes. I think there's a huge benefit to us being able to be this vulnerable. I look at the views on your videos, right? That's one way to track. And the views on this video is X, but the other one is 2X, 3X because of the content that's in it. People are looking for this kind of resource to be able to have a dialogue. Morning, Rob.
Hi, everybody. Just, I got in here a little late because I'm traveling actually. On my way to sunny Charleston, but I was able to listen to I missed about 10 minutes maybe, but read your slide there earlier there that you posted on Facebook, so I was able to kind of get it caught up. Again, so I'm going to be vulnerable a little bit. First of all, every single person, all these stories and everything else that everyone has shared since I've started with this group has been absolutely amazing. And I appreciate all of it because even though, again, I'm not able to maybe be on the video because I'm driving my kids or whatnot, and I just want to be more safe than sorry. But the last couple of years, well, I mean, I've been, divorced, got laid off twice, once each year, from some pretty big jobs, and because just downsized essentially, and just trying to actually put the pieces together, and trying to see my kids and everything else. So it's it's been a challenge. And the idea that association with those jobs, I was, or I am, I haven't decided yet, in the food service business. So, I mean, I've run like, $1 million to $10 million restaurants and clubs and, food and beverage organizations. So everyone comes to see me at my work because I'm never available. So I have a lot of acquaintances. I have I have some good core group of friends, but with the divorce and everything else, and also the loss of the jobs, it becomes more difficult. It becomes more difficult to kind of associate. And there have been times where I'm, on a Friday or Saturday night, not working at a restaurant, and like nobody calls me anymore because I'm never available. So it's like they think of me. I get a Christmas card, but I'm not available. Although now I am. So it's really interesting trying to associate that. I will say this, that, projecting and actually putting it out there, I have found someone that absolutely loves me, and it's actually becoming one of the best relationships of my life. So I'm extremely thankful. But, I've, had this roller coaster of emotions of thinking about what to do, where am I going to go, where am I going to live? So we actually have a house we bought a few months ago together, and she has a daughter, and I have 2 boys, and it's, we're pulling it together. I mean, there's still not, all the pieces, picked up yet, but nevertheless, with this and, and thinking about stuff, I have that burning desire inside me to actually still try and do something. And that's why I'm actually on traveling. Anyway, that's just a little bit of story. I want to say thank you, and, I'll listen.
Hey, Rob, thanks for sharing, brother. And I totally get it, right? We're in these positions where people are forced to interact with us. And then and they love us because we've got good souls, we've got good energy. And then we take that identity when we leave and it's not there. So I absolutely applaud what you shared. Thank you for sharing, because I know we're all sitting here going, especially in network marketing, we go show up in an event for 3 days. Oh my God, we're kings and queens with all of our friends. And if you've got a team, you're like, oh, right? They're saying how great you are and wonderful. And then you go home. I go home to my 2 dogs, and it's like, or my bride, I love my bride to death. Y'all know that. But she'll be like, there's dog shit out in the backyard you need to pick up. Wait a minute. I was just like the global god, kingpin, guru, poobah. And now you're I don't care what they think. So I appreciate that. And congratulations on, so I always consider it, I look at life as this Easter egg hunt. And some people have left some real eggs out there for a long time that when I pick it up and I go, oh, look at the pretty egg, and it's all sour. And it's like, oh, but I found it, so at least I know where that one is and I can throw that away. So as you go through this journey, just thank yourself every day. You're at an airport, I'm guessing right now, and
yep,
you're traveling. So be grateful for it. If the plane takes off early, be grateful. And I love that. And if the plane takes off a little late, and I love that. And the jerk that was being a jackass to the flight attendant, here's what I will tell you. You're at an airport. How long till your flight?
1 hour.
Good. Go by one of the little stores and pick up a bag of chocolate, 2 bags of chocolates, 2 different kinds of chocolates. Just little bags, $5 bags. And when you get on the plane and say, I was taught this from a seasoned traveler, 25+ year traveler, I need to take care of the people who take care of me. And you hand them that bag of chocolate. And you say, I understand the rules of flight. I got to take care of you before you take care of me. And that's it. and you watch the reaction. It doesn't matter whether you're on Southwest, American, Delta, or anything. They're flight attendants, they're human beings, and if it is Southwest, they're even more fun. But you go on and you spend $12 on chocolate. Yeah, you should have bought it at Walmart. I get it. But you go do this, it'll change your day. It will be the best $12 you ever spent for you versus anybody else. I can't tell you the bottles of champagne and the drinks and the stories and in 20 years of doing that, I probably spent, who knows, 10 grand on chocolate. But I tell you, it's given me more than 10 grand worth of stories. So that would be my little tip for you today, this little secret inside traveler, because flight attendants today, oh my gosh, the crap they get. So anyways, that'd be my little suggestion to you.
Thank you.
It's a great way, again, but you got to say that. You got to say the word. You just don't hand them the chocolate. Say, I was taught the rules of travel. I've been traveling for years, and I just learned there's a secret book, and I just got access to it today. Make it fun and say, I need to take care of the flight attendants. And you hand them that. Now, if it's a 22-year-old guy, probably not going to get, it ain't going to sink in. But if it's, if it's Mom Mabel and she's got the highest, her rank is number 2, they're absolutely going to freak out over it. They're going to think it's cool. And doesn't matter what kind of chocolate. They're flight attendants. They will love it. But again, so how y'all feeling now? Y'all feeling a little better? And here's the thing, we can't feel better by ourselves. Honestly, there's nothing you can do to feel better by yourself. Even with your own thoughts, you have to think of other thoughts to be better. So thank you for allowing me. I saw somebody unmuted on their phone. I don't know if they wanted to say something.
Hey, Sean, it's April.
Hey, April.
Hey there. Yeah, I've been dialing in lately because I've been, when I'm driving to work in the morning, it's easier to do that than on the other. But I think great topic this morning. I'm sure there's lots of people that can identify it. Some people more recently than others, and some can be ongoing, struggles. So definitely something that I think needs to be brought up. And then there's also people that, like, if you have things that you can, and some people think you should be depressed about because there's so much going on, but you have a tendency to keep a bright, cheery, which I try to do, demeanor, even when I'm kind of in the gutter. I can normally stay above, but then sometimes you wake up and you're in a funk. And I woke up that way this morning. So when you said what you were talking about, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect time. But so normally I put on YouTube, I put on some motivational video or something to get me thinking, and most of the time that works, but probably the cloudy weather out there is not helping me, that and some other things. But hold on just a second. Sorry, it looked like my headset disconnected. But anyway, all I was going to say is that, like, when you put the deal on the Facebook page later, maybe we do an additional post that just is where people can put, like, their personal things that they do when they get in a funk to get out of it. And then, like, people could go back, to it and go, oh, wow, I didn't think about this or that. Everyone is so different and so unique. Everyone has their own little trick of what they do. And we might remind ourselves what we do to help ourselves, but then just for the other people to be able to see and maybe glean from that and share with others on, whether they're depressed or whether they're just in, a funk one morning or something. That I thought that might be good to share with people.
Absolutely. And we'll put it in so I'll take all of that stuff and put it in the file, and inside of the Facebook group, I think we can start to tag things for resources or whatever it is. But yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea, April.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. So there he is, getting on a plane. Yeehaw. Uh,
I'd like to say something.
here's the great news there. Oh, go ahead, Margie.
I'd like to thank Leslie for putting into words what I couldn't put into words about the chemical imbalance. It is so true. And at 71 and it's a family tradition to fight this thing. And also, what is the Facebook page?
Daily Awakening. If not, I will add you, Margie. When we get done here, I'll go add you. But if you find it, Daily Awakening, and the cover picture is High Energy Misfits. So there's no doubt.
I can understand that. Thank you.
Listen, folks, listen. So do you get what happens here? I know we get it. But when we're the one that somebody responds to, right? When Margie said, Leslie, thank you, right? Did y'all see what Leslie did? Did y'all see what any of us do, right? We cover here. We don't go, oh, thanks for thinking of me. We cover our heart. This isn't a unique group. And, you know, I was thinking about how do we get more people into this? I'm thinking kind of like some other great marketers that are out there, they've got to apply to this. I think people anybody who wants to join it going forward needs to do a YouTube video, needs to just do a little video and send it going, hey, here's why I believe I'm a misfit.
You know, the other thing is for a lot of people, they've got to be ready to be ready. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's, you know, a girl that we put in that it just broke up with her boyfriend, had to move. She's on her own. She's starting over, totally needs to be here, but she's not ready to be ready. I tried. You know what I mean?
Sounds like network marketing. This would be so
Right?
good for them.
Right?
Well, there you go, misfits. I love you tons. Thank you, everybody, for always participating. Listen, here's how important this is. Your words will always impact the group. When we're in this state of energy and when we're in this community, as insignificant as you may see it, that's your perception of it, that's the way you look at things. One word can impact anything, can impact everything and change a day. So I got to thank you every morning. There's some mornings I may not want to jump up, but I got my misfits. I got to go get my fix. There you go. Y'all have a blessed day. Have a day filled with joy and awareness, and know that you do make a difference. Know that your smile, Rob, walking through that airport will change people's lives. That'll show up in my family's life, and I'm forever grateful. For the rest of us, we're not in an airport today. Maybe you are, but wherever you go, your smiles will show up in my family's life. And that's my goal for my family. That's what I do very selfishly and self-fully every day, is spread the words. So have an outstanding day. I'll see you all where? At the next event. Love you all. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.